we do a little bit of everything in construction for the most part. We've got a team of project managers on all companies helping execute the jobs and stuff, and we have a sales team, and it's a grind. It's very time consuming. The clock never stops, and it takes quite a bit to try to maintain and juggle everything that we've got, but it's fun. I enjoy it. It keeps you on your toes. There's really no dull moments in the day, so it's a good topic today because I think periodically throughout almost every day you have some sort of failure. It could be a small failure or it can be a catastrophic failure, but there's small failures throughout running a company, and especially 3 companies. I have 3 chances of being exposed to some kind of failure.
You've got 3 times the failure.
Yeah.
Opportunities, yeah.
So, yeah, it's fun. It's challenging, but it keeps you on your toes to balance, be strategic on learning from your failures and say, oh, yeah, that didn't work, and how can we optimize that? And then even intercompany, here's the things that we're doing over here on Anthem Homes that's working for us over here. Let's implement that in Anthem Construction and Anthem Pools and vice versa.
So there's some benefit to it as well.
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And even though that they're all kind of in the same wheelhouse, like I'm sure each one of them kind of have their own struggles, strengths and weaknesses and stuff too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So some have more experience than others. Some have more profitable than others. There's a lot of, different ways to look at it. But, I think overall you can look at each company individually and learn from the failures and successes of each one and make them all collectively better. So, yeah.
So I got a question.
Yeah.
You have a family managed on top of all those companies?
I have a family managed on top of all that. Yeah.
All right.
So I have a wonderful, beautiful wife, Jamie, who takes care of our 2 baby boys at home, Bryant and Brooks. And we have, Jamie and I both have collectively 3 teenager, older kids. Collectively, we are a family of 5 boys. So our house is never, there's never a dull moment in Nathan Sweats' life. From work to home, there's always something going on. So it's fun, though. It keeps you active and keeps you on your toes. So
Keeps you thankful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And that's another cool thing that I like how we talk about here is some personal failures and stuff too. Like we talk about family and personal and kids and stuff like that too. So if anything comes to mind, if you've got particular topics that come to things that you've overcome that are personal too, like we'll all take, your insights on it too.
Sure.
So it's nice to hear. I've got a couple in mind, but do you have anything in mind to kick it off with?
As far as failures go?
Yeah. Anything immediate, like in the last week or two?
Well, it's not necessarily a big failure, but as I'm sure Nathan can relate to this, in our industry, sometimes you got to hire people just because you need people. And we hired someone, and this may not be construed as a failure to some, but we hired someone back in about 4 weeks ago, maybe 6 weeks ago. Got experience in the industry, is super helpful. But here as of late, he hasn't performed as good as you'd want him to. And we knew he was going to be leaving in the coming months anyways. It was temporary, but we needed somebody with experience. We needed somebody with a license. We needed that person. But he more or less is going to be leaving us soon, and we weren't prepared for that. And not necessarily a huge failure. We should have prepared better, but I'm sure as you guys understand, we got comfortable with having him around, and now we're freaking out thinking, oh man, we'll have to replace him again. He was such a good asset to have, but at the same time, he's got bigger dreams and goals, and we don't want to hold anybody back. But at the same time, in our aspect, you have to figure out how you're going to come past that failure of maybe we shouldn't have. Our company isn't small like that anymore, where we can hire somebody part-time, like, oh yeah, we'll figure it out later. Now it's like, no, we have to be looking for those key players that are going to stay with us. So absolutely,
I get that.
What about yourself?
Yeah, I I mean, lately it's been just figuring out process and outlining all of that. So we have like some little failures that happen every now and then, but it's nothing catastrophic over the last 6 months to a year. Not anything that I can really think of where I'm just like, man, that was a big that was really big deal. No, I mean, there's been some history like in the last 10 years where I've had some struggle with finding where I've wanted business partners and try to find people to work with and stuff like that. And that's taken a lot of time to be able to understand, okay, these are the people that I like to work with. These are the sort of like core values and things like that I want to align with, whether it's people that I hire or subcontractors or other companies I partner with, or even customers and people that they hire me to work with. I've kind of learned that it's really important to find people that are like, have passion and vision and care about their business and stuff like that too. Because that's some of the things that kind of aligned with me too. I'm like, I really care to not just make a buck, but really take care of somebody, and then build a team and stuff too. So I've been through like 3 business partners and stuff, and that's been really difficult, and $60,000 lawsuit, and finally got through all that and paid, and that just got over with 2 months ago. So that's my failure. How did I overcome it? I don't know.
That's significant. So,
Yeah, it's big.
I don't know. Just kept going, I guess.
and you push through it.
Yeah.
Well,
good.
that, like I said in I think first or second podcast, it's that what do we say was the
Grit?
the manual for how to build a business.
Oh yeah. There's no manual.
There's just no manual. It's just one page and says just keep going. That's how you do it. I
There's
mean,
plenty of podcasts and blogs and videos and stuff like that you can watch, but it's like, okay, well that worked for you, but I'm trying to do it a little different because I have to do it a little different so then I can be unique.
The great analogy that comes to mind with that, my dad always taught me that analogy that he uses is if you read a book like McElroy wrote about how to play tennis, he goes over your stance, your posture, how to hit forward hand, backhand, velocity over the net. You can read the book and master the game of tennis. But then you have to go out in the court and actually perform everything that you just read and study. And so that is the application, and that's what makes you, I would say, successful, but just operate is you can learn. And we always, as business owners, we have to learn and educate ourselves on how to do better in this. How do I manage this, that, what does that look like? And you read and study and all that, but until you're actually out in the grind, you don't know. And so you have to put the application, the knowledge behind the application. And that is the key to knowing what to do. But when you actually get into it and it's right there in your face, you're like, okay, I remember reading about this. I think I know how to handle this. But it's like until it's right there in your face, it's kind of like,
until it goes through your systems
Yeah.
and goes through your people, and you have time to bill it and customers experience and get their feedback, and by the time you figure out all that, sometimes it's 2 or 3 months
right.
or longer for some.
Yep.
And then you got to go back to the drawing board and be like, okay, well, how do I fix this?
Yeah.
And
you're
then you
always-
make little
always
improvements.
tweaking. Yep.
Yeah.
Always. Yep.
What are some projects and stuff that you're working on right now, Nathan?
A lot. We have detached buildings, barn dominiums, custom homes, pool remodels. Not a lot that you can think of in the construction side of things that we are not a part of. So it's kind of a revolving list of work. We always have room additions, and we always have remodels, and we always have custom homes that we're building. Something new to us, and we're really excited about, is development that we're doing in Broken Arrow, and that's new to me. So there's some trepidation, some kind of little nervousness about that, but I think it's the opportunity, it's the next goal and the dream and the vision for the company is to go to that next step, the next level is to actually develop and build a neighborhood. So, and we'll have a partner doing that brings a lot of experience. So that's exciting. So I would say the new craze that's going in the company right now. And so we put an offer in on 20 acres in Broken Arrow and said, let's figure this thing out, figure out how to do it.
How many are you going to be developing homes out there?
Yeah.
How many?
Well, the initial proposal was 50 lots. I think we're probably going to end up selling about 40 to 45 lots when all the tweaking and everything's done. And it's right now it's in engineering, and engineers do what engineers do, right? So they have sent me a 30-page report that pretty much summarizes that you got 56 lots, and I was like, oh, okay, well, and then we have to make a decision. Okay, do we want to build these homes on these size lots, or do we want to tweak it and move it around a little bit? And so it's a learning process. It's fun. It's exciting.
I love taking on new projects and things that I haven't done before, but I'm like, I've done something similar, just maybe not to the scale or how this project needs it customized, you know?
Yeah.
But it's definitely exciting. It's a new challenge and stuff too.
Absolutely.
So would you say that's your favorite thing you're doing right now, is the development, or?
I'd say I'm most excited about it. Yeah. A little scared.
Most excited is different than favorite, though.
Yeah.
I
don't know that I have a favorite.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I've got a lot of. We've got some pretty cool jobs going, but I don't know that I necessarily have. I'd probably say it's. Yeah, you could probably say it's my favorite because
it's new.
It's new.
It's
right?
scary.
It's scary, and it's exciting, and it's riveting, and it's we're really looking forward to it, and I believe that this is going to open up a new door and chapter in our business moving forward, and taking on a $20 million project like that's, we've never done anything like that, so it's exciting.
What's next? So after you get the practice and you get all this down, and you know how to do it. I mean, I know you know how to build homes and pools and do all the remodels and stuff like that. But doing something where you're doing 20 to 50 lots or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Are you wanting to do more of those, or do you not know yet?
Possibly. That's the plan. I guess as a company owner, you want to figure out your way to evolve, right? And evolving could be maintaining the same footprint of business that you're at, but tweaking it and optimizing it. I think with the goal and the visions that we have at Anthem from all companies is this is probably the next step to our evolvement, our revolution into the next chapter of Anthem construction. Anthem is development, home builder, developer, and having communities. I mean, I guess after that we can maybe start doing skyscrapers, something. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
That's crazy.
I never got further than that. So that's
Tulsa doesn't have a bunch of those. So what if you're one of the first?
Yeah, I don't know. There's some big wigs that are
Flipco. They put up a big one, and then there was another one. It's called The View. It's the apartment complex right next to the Driller Stadium.
Yeah. So you got some big dogs in there doing that kind of. I would love to do that. I don't necessarily know if that's an aspiration now, but I guess I could say that could be.
Well, that goes along with the question I was going to ask is, did you ever see yourself doing developments whenever you initially started Anthem?
That's a good question. No. And development was never really on the, probably in the back of my mind, but I never sat down and, so we do 1, 2, and 5 year goals, personal, business, and all individual companies. So pools, homes, and construction, we have individual goals for each company, financial, production, employment, everything. So we set goals, and I make all of our employees set goals. So I say that because we never had a goal of like development's never come up. And it was just an opportunity, got to talking, and somebody brought something up about development, and I started running some rough numbers, and I said, I see this as a real potential opportunity. And lo and behold, here we are. We put an offer on some property, and now we're doing development. So, I think that's a key part of being a small business owner, I think, is you have to be open to that. Like, you're doing landscaping. What if somebody proposed to you to say, hey, instead of just doing what you're doing, maybe we get into, I don't know, septics or something that's close but a little bit different, and get into the next thing. You say, but I think you have to have a kind of a open mindset, at least to listen to an opportunity and say, that could make sense for me, but maybe not, but at least explore the opportunity. And that's pretty much how the development says. Like, I never had a goal and a dream to do a development, but here we are, and the ideas the wheels got to turning and thinking and said, I think this can work. This could really take us as a company to another level and evolve. And that's where we are. So being open-minded is key.
So you got me thinking about diversification too. And I've heard, a lot of people say, and I just had a recent conversation about this too, where they're like, instead of starting a whole new business in a separate industry, and you're wanting to create, let's say, additional sources of revenue, what can you create inside of your business that would create those additional sources of revenue that would make financial sense and complement the other services, right?
Like Blue Studio?
Like Blue Studio, right? So that's pretty cool to be able to have the studio and be able to sit here and record and talk to you guys and have these conversations and stuff. I think it's really cool. But then also, my recent conversation that I've had is too much service diversification can dilute what people think of you, right?
Sure.
So if you've got 10 different service lines, they each complement each other to some degree, or they all correlate in the same industry. Sometimes it's too hard to manage those 10 different departments with 10 different people, 10 different processes, and so on and so forth. So if you just bring those down to 2 or 3, perfect those, get those done, get those settled to where you can step back and then build on new service lines, makes it a lot easier.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm in the midst of that.
So,
awesome.
Nathan, you just mentioned about how the development was more or less an opportunity that just kind of came up, and it's kind of funny. So you gave me a book not too long ago, and I've actually been reading it every single day.
Good.
And today, the excerpt in it or whatever, I was talking about how our failures are a way to teach us the difference between failures and opportunities. And I think with you saying that and kind of going back to, as Braden was talking about, multi-diversification, going a little too crazy, every time we fail, or whether that's fail in our business or fail to look at an opportunity, simply look due to a closed mind,
right.
Over time, we start to, as small business owners, learn to listen for the opportunity. And yeah, sometimes they're literally just whatever, and you just pass them on through. But then there's opportunities where maybe a development that you had no intention of doing, but it's like, well, that's an opportunity that kind of makes sense. And that's something that over time, I'm sure plenty of other opportunities that came along that you're like, yeah, maybe we'll try it. And then,
sure,
you slam your face into the wall and you're like, that was a terrible idea, but it helps you listen to which opportunities may actually turn out to be good ones for us individually, like the Blue Studio.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's been many other ones that you've gotten into. I can't say we have, but in our business, we tell everybody we're standard. Just
oh shoot, dude, get in here! Hey guys, I want to welcome Chance from Threaded Industries. He's just hopped into the studio, and he'll grab a seat here in just a moment and join us.
What's up, Chance? So like in our business, whenever people ask what do we do, I keep it very simple: drainage, landscape, irrigation, lawn care. Because the reality is, as you just said, you could say everything we actually do, which could go into a sump pump, French drains, regular drains, irrigations.
There's 10 different types of drainage.
Right.
You could do.
Right. Hardscape, patio extensions with hardscape. Like there's just so much, when the reality is that might start to hinder your name or hinder the trust that people have in you. So I think what you've done is actually super smart, of taking you have a brand of Anthem, but you've actually broken it out into separate sections.
Right.
So while someone may look at you and think, well, you're kind of all over the place, the reality is it brings out this perception that there's split coordination between each of your companies.
Right.
Yes, they may be ran by the same visionary, but the truth is they each have different processes. They each have different ways of making things happen,
right.
which I think is great, because it allows people to understand that while, yes, I can do it all, it's not one company doing it all.
Right.
And I think that's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Chance, Threaded, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. You haven't met Nathan. This is Nathan with Anthem.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, man.
He does construction, homes, pools,
Beautiful.
all that jazz.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm the big guy upstairs.
Literally. Literally.
Nice to
It's
meet
funny
you.
whenever we make jokes every now and then. We call him the big guy upstairs,
Right.
And we point up, and anytime we talk, bring him up in conversation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna adjust this camera real quick, but
You're
you guys
good.
can keep going. So we're talking about business failures or personal failures, and just some recent ones. We've brought up some topics about projects that we've taken on, and try to overcome to process problems with those projects, or bringing on new projects that we're like, we may fail at this, and if we do we have any ideas of how we're going to try to overcome it or recover? Things like that.
Okay.
So play some catch up. Do you have any stories, small or big? Is there anything that you feel like that you're like, man, I really messed up here?
I'll have to think about that, honestly. Yeah. Because it won't be a personal experience of mine with my company because I'm so new. I would have to derive back to where I used to work in the old company that I used to kind of be associated with to really give some good constructive criticism towards that.
Yeah.
So it'd be something I need to think about, honestly.
Well, I think that we, as humans, right, we all fail in personal, business, employee. I think we fail. You're going to fail, right, in all aspects of your life. The level of failure can vary and all that, but I think we can, obviously, as humans, the ones that want to strive to do better is we learn through our failures. And the one thing I wanted to bring up was that book that I gave you is John Maxwell. I love John Maxwell. I pretty much read everything that he's written, and he has a great book. It's really focused on this topic. And it's called Failing Forward, and it's about every time you failed. And my personal story is I started and owned 8 different businesses before Anthem even came, and they all failed. There were some successes, but obviously they weren't successful enough to where it was financially
Sustainable.
Yeah, sustainable, and couldn't make a living off of it. But some success. But it took 8 business failures before Anthem was birthed, and learn through every single one of them. Learn from other businesses, models, and other people's failures, and everything else. So it's a culmination of learning through the failures to make better. And that's a great book, and I also recommend too. But to go back to kind of what Chance was saying is, you learn through your life failures too. If any of us, you look kind of stocky, you probably played some sports before, or just work out, or
No, just work out now.
yeah. Okay, well,
just
that's
work
like
out.
so. Somebody,
It's just natural.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just
He was
natural.
born
I
that
was
way.
this way
Yeah.
with chiseled abs, and
Some people are.
you're absolutely right. But I think what I was going with that was sports, right? So
Right.
kids playing sports, that is, I think, a great thing that kids can learn as a young age is failing and losing in the playoffs, the championship, or losing to your rival, and kids learn that you're going to lose, you're not going to win every single game, but learn. So you're already getting into that adaptive mentality of overcoming a loss and a shortage and a failure, and making yourself better in another aspect of your life or the same aspect. So
I've got to teach my boys that all the time because they play Fortnite and I don't know, and Minecraft.
how many
and stuff.
controllers
And so,
have you had to replace?
None. Well, actually, I lied. Like probably 3. They wear them out really hard. But to them, like whenever they fail and they place 22nd in Fortnite, and it's all ranked. It's PvP. You play against 99 other players, 100 people in a lobby and stuff like that. And so it's a big deal when they can't place first and they fail. And man, do they freak out? Like I will hear them like yell across down the hall and come out and be like, "Oh, I'm done. Forget it," and scream and stuff. And so it's like, okay, listen, things happen. This is how we're gonna take a break.
Yeah.
Think about like why do you keep placing here? Like why do you want to place first? How can you get there? And just try to think outside the box and stuff. So
Well, as Nathan said, you realize that the only way to win in life is to work on yourself. So if you put it back to your boys, the only way to win or to get better is to keep practicing and keep failing. And that may be, not being first, who knows how many times or anything like that. But at the same time, it's that realization. I think a lot of us miss it at least I did for a short period of time as I was getting older, where you forget that is part of the process. You have to fail in order to realize that I have to work on myself to get to that next point.
Right.
So like in my personal life, as you guys know, like I've been sober now for 7-8 weeks or whatever, and that wasn't necessarily a failure, but that was something that I saw I wasn't getting where I wanted to go in the company. So what did I do? I worked on myself. And because that is the next step, it's the best thing you can do, start working on yourself. And I think that's great that as your boys and my girls, as they get older too, you have to let them realize that failure is part of it. And if there's something that you don't like or something that's not working, work on yourself. And most of the time, those problems will solve themselves, whatever they are.
Yeah. Failure is, I think, the most important key to success.
Agreed.
Is failure, and learning from it. And I think we're foolish as humans if we think that it's a failure and we are a failure. It's like, no, failure is normal. We have to embrace failure, and that's
success is what's rare.
Yeah,
failure is the normality.
Given.
Right.
So there's a person in our BNI group, and his key to success is failure is failure is an event, not a person. And that's something we have to remind ourselves is failure is an event. You are not a failure. You just went through a failure.
Right.
You know, and that's literally it. And like you said, it's part of it. And it, kind of the whole thing, you take sunshine for granted, until it rains. And then you're like, oh, thank God. You take the rain for granted, until it rains. You're tired of the 110 degree days. And you're like, oh, thank God.
100
it's
degrees
raining.
in a row of just straight sunshine. Then you wish you had the rain.
Same way with the seasons. Everyone's like, oh, man, I can't wait for winter. And when winter comes, like, oh, I can't wait for summer.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I like my summertime.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge
Well, that's where you make your money, though.
Well, I just don't like cold. I just don't like cold.
I'd prefer it. I'd prefer 50s over hundreds.
There's no way.
Is that what brought you here from Chicago?
No, my parents.
Oh. So your parents got it.
Yeah. No,
They didn't like the cold either.
I'm sure they didn't. I don't know. I don't like the cold at all. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind it, like in short spurts, but I'll take this 100-degree weather all day long. All day long. As soon as it starts getting cold, I'm like, screw this crap. Just screw it. I'm done. But, we all have our seasons that we like. So I'm curious. Braden, we'll start with you and go around the table.
Sure.
What would you say is your biggest failure to date?
The biggest failure? Man, that lawsuit was the biggest one, the one that I was involved in. There's nothing I could have done to really prevent it. It happened the way it happened, and I did everything I could. When I was involved as a part of that project was in the beginning. Business partner took the rest of the project, and handled it from there. And that was all difficult to be on the shit end of the stick of that, because he wound up leaving the company, and so that was now on my plate. I'm like, no, I've got half a case here, and I carried it on through all the way until we were about to go to trial, 4 months away from trial, and we wound up settling because I know I'm like, oh shoot, trial's going to be another $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 I've heard, right? And it could go on for months, it could go on for weeks or whatever, and there's so many fees and stuff. I was like, it's just not worth it. So I just wound up getting a loan and settling all that, paying attorney fees, and I was like, I'm gonna move on. So that was my biggest failure, I guess, or that I was a part of. Outside of that, I mean, I constantly have little failures, like where I mentioned earlier, and I know you didn't hear that, Chance, but whereas take on projects, and there's been times where it's like you have little failures throughout the project, maybe deadlines keep getting pushed back. To me, those are like little miniature failures. I'm like, no, we set the expectation that it was going to be done at this date and this time. We pushed it back 2-3 days. Okay, now we got to push it back 2-3 days more, and by this time it's a week late. And like, no, we failed. Like, we need to figure out how we can make sure that we deliver on time as promised and execute, right? That's what comes to mind.
Nathan?
Now
you've had 8 companies that you started.
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of thinking of one of those. I would say the first construction company I started was a roofing company in Minnesota. And, well, roofing in Minnesota is 6 to 7 months a year. So there's already some, I would say failure, but some slow time of the industry. So, but the way that the business kind of quickly dissolved and went away, I would say was my biggest failure. And I signed a non-compete with the guy I was working before I started the company, and there's threatening of lawsuits and legal action and stuff like that. And I just cowered and ran and shut the business, shut the doors down, and walked away from a pretty successful business company at 21 years old.
Dang. I've heard non-competes don't apply in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That's a lie. No,
I don't know. I've never signed one. So
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We had to go through our non-compete for, I think it was like 3 years. Yeah. So they do hold up in Oklahoma. I'll tell you that.
They hold up in
I'll have
court.
to find where I heard that and send it to you.
I've heard that verbally as well, but I wonder in court, maybe
It's case by case.
Yeah, maybe
Right.
a court wouldn't hold
Maybe.
it. 'Cause
All I know is when we had a non-compete, we had to go through the full time frame.
Now, I wonder if that's also comes down to your integrity and your honesty in
Maybe.
yourself. And say, hey,
Honestly, I don't know.
if I signed
it wasn't
it,
my business,
what-
so I
whether-
don't know that well.
And the paper trail and what all
Yeah.
happened and all that too.
I just know
yeah.
that we had to wait before we could start the new company that they're running right now.
So, Chance, your biggest failure?
Probably launching Threaded.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yeah, because I was supposed to launch January 1st of this year, and that took until July 19th of this year to launch. So
Why is that?
7 months. Just a culmination of a lot of things I didn't know about going into the situation.
Like what?
Making sure that everything's legal, making sure that all the contracts are written.
And you're doing giveaways and stuff, and so a certain
Yeah.
number of entries and like
Yeah,
making sure
so-
that's disclaimed and
Yeah,
Man.
everything. You have to be transparent. You have to have a non-purchase way to enter. You have to specify the way to enter upon that. You have to be licensed and bonded in all 50 states. You have to have contracts with certain states, and you got to pay certain states to have it's legally classified as a sweepstakes. So you have to have agreements per state depending on their sweepstakes laws, which I didn't know any of this going into it.
you have a family member that's an attorney that
Yes,
did
my mother
helped
but
out.
she does business law, so she's helped read everything. But she pretty much was like my proofer. I really didn't go to her for anything other than basically advice. And then, hey, does this look right, or am I getting screwed here? Kind of situations. She really pushed me to do everything on my own, which is great. No complaints there. I can say I built it myself with the help of others, of course. You don't do anything
Sure.
by yourself, but she didn't. I wouldn't say she didn't help me, but she kind of not made me either. Just nudged me to do things for myself. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense.
She pointed you north.
Yeah, there you go. Your old saying right there.
Yeah.
So she did a better job of it evidently than you do to your guys. So
That's the truth.
no, I'm
It's
just
all right.
kidding. Yeah, I'd say launching Threaded would be my biggest failure. Because if I would have launched it in January, there's no telling where I would be right now. But
I mean, the key to our biggest failures is the end story, right? The lawsuit, the company, personal, launching, and it still turns into a success if we're the right, mentality. We push through it, we learn, we get through it. Our greatest failures, we just kind of just lay them out and can still turn it into a success.
yeah,
So that was actually going to be the next part of this question is what did you learn from it? Because whenever I think about my personal failures, I actually two come to mind. One is I didn't pay IRS taxes. So I got a nice little letter in the mail that was terrifying. And then two, and I think it was, I think 2020 or 2019, we're building our company, and we had a group of, I don't even remember how many guys at that point, but we were coming up close to wintertime, and I'm sure as you guys have known, right about that November time, everybody's mindset shifts to Christmas presents and Christmas. And we didn't prepare good enough, and our schedule more or less just dried up. And we told our guys it was a very swallow your pride moment and kind of just be vulnerable with them. But we just had to look at the guys and say, hey, man, we got about 2, maybe 3 weeks of work. We're just letting you know right now. we have no idea what's going to happen. Like we're trying to get these leads out. We're trying to get these bids out, but nobody's biting. And that was very tough to do, to say. But, you know, it was one of those things where we just were honest with everybody. And a lot of the guys went and found work elsewhere before they had to, before they were like, hey, that's the day, it's over. And then a few of those guys even came back afterwards. So it was really nice to have that. You know, at the time, it sucks saying it, but at the back end, it was really nice to have those guys that came back and know, like, those guys are in it, you know, and they understand that we're starting a business and that we don't know what the hell we're doing, first of all. And at the same time, I think the vulnerability to tell them that, hey, this is the reality of what's happening right now before you guys get screwed. We know the holidays are coming, and we didn't expect this coming. But then going back on that question of what did you learn, and I'll start here with me is, so with the IRS, I learned profit first. Like after that, there had to be a change in how we ran our systems, and that we weren't getting paid as owners. Everybody who was supposed to be getting paid wasn't getting paid the way they were supposed to. So I learned and had to learn profit first, or some sort of cash management system. I just chose profit first, and then with the guys, I just learned to time the seasons better, in the sense of I don't like running the business, and a lot of people in our industry will let go guys or hire people seasonal. I'd rather have people running balls to the walls during the season and still keep them during the wintertime. Again, we learned what I thought were very, very great lessons from those two big failures. And, you know, had we not had those two lessons, I'm not sure we would have learned what we needed to learn, because now our company is much stronger than it was back then. So taking that, Raiden, what did you learn from your lawsuit?
I learned about the importance of contract terminology, leaving a paper trail, and how important communication is, and how that's communicated between two parties. There was 27,000 emails over a 2.5 year period between like 14, 15 different people. That's a lot of emails.
Yeah.
And a lot of timeline to build, right? So I've learned that, like, if we set up a contract, and let's say a service is $1,500 a month for X, Y, and Z, 6 months later or 2 months later, they go, well, we want to change this. Well, now we have a dollar amount. If it's $500 more, or if it's $500 or higher, we do a change order. Or if it modifies all that, we do a change order. Or we do like a service order request. So it's like, sign this and you know that you're paying for it, right? Mm-hmm. And then also, like, on all of our proposals and contracts, we want to be as specific as possible. So you know exactly what you're getting, exactly what you're paying for, what project it's for, or, you know, those details that matter, to make sure that you and me are on the same page.
Yeah. And
I've had to teach that with Bobby, the one that makes all of our proposals and stuff. So he's had to learn contracts over the last year and a half, and the verbiage, and making sure that the terminology matches and aligns with how we want to do business with that client. Right?
Yeah. Very important. Yeah.
Nathan, what did you learn most from your roofing company in Minnesota?
Learned a lot. And obviously I didn't give up, because I started another construction company. Probably learned to not give up, because, you know, I could have. Now, I don't necessarily own a roofing company. We do roofs, but we don't advertise and market. We're not a roofing company. We're a construction company. But I guess I could have just walked away and said, no, I've done the construction thing before. I could have walked away and said, you know.
And at 21, that would have been acceptable.
Yeah.
I mean,
right.
That's very young.
Yeah. So I would say probably learning to not give up and try again.
Chance?
Is it bad that I kind of want to change my answer?
Go ahead.
Um,
This is your story.
yeah, I honestly,
It's America.
America. Honestly, I don't even really believe in failure, to be honest. I don't think failure is a concept that I don't have in my mindset. I just think that, hey, that might not have worked out, but I don't see it as a failure. I think it as a stepping stone to where I need to be in life. You know, it's like you said earlier, fail forward. Fail forward and fail often. And that's the road to success. The first failure you have is one failure closer to your success. Yep. Every no is one no closer to a yes. Right. So I don't see failure, because what did I learn from not launching Threaded in January is the structure of a sweepstakes, understanding the legality of different states have different processes. You have to have, like I said, different contracts, different understanding. The law is written so different. It's not just generic. It's crazy how much different variances. Like I had to pay like $5,000 alone to New York to run legally in New York. Like it's stupid stuff like that. Florida's the same way, and Oklahoma's pretty chill and relaxed, all the other stuff. But New York, Florida, I mean that's $10,000 right there. Not to mention a couple other states that are a little bit smaller fees, but it just knowledge. I wouldn't necessarily say it's a failure. Just it's knowledge, constant learning, and failure is the quickest way to obtain knowledge. That's my actual opinion of it, I guess.
What's it called when you do the same thing over and over again and you don't change anything? Expect a different result?
That's insanity.
So change. So if you don't learn from those failures and you just keep doing the same thing over and over again,
right,
then you're an idiot.
Yeah.
100%.
So you got to make sure you adapt and change and try to learn from those failures.
Right. Oh yeah. That's what I'm saying. Just
there's people that don't change and they're scared to change and they're just going to do the same thing that they've done forever. And
right.
It is the way it is. I'm kind of like, oh, come on, things have to change, right?
Yeah. Well, the whole world changes. So if you don't change, you are technically stepping back because you're not progressing with the world. Because the world never stops. People never stop. So if you don't innovate and change, then you are literally walking backwards.
So I got a question, because one of my 8 failures is I had an online American, can't remember the name of it was a website, it was a drop shipping website of American-made furniture, home decor, stuff like that. Stylish American Living, that was the website that I had. And so we sold, it was nationwide, but it was drop shipping.
Right.
But, no, I didn't check up all the legalities of it, but if I sold anything in another state, then for that state specifically, I had to file a state return, or quarterly, annually, or whatever. But if I did a sale in New York and I had to ship it to New York, I had to file a return. If I didn't sell it in 42 other states, I didn't have to report anything to them other than my home state. So is there a difference with that, doing a sweepstakes attached as well as product sales?
Product sales are the same, but the difference is, as far as the sweepstakes, is it depends on when someone orders or when someone wins. So I'll have to go wherever the winner is. That will be where I have to file. It's not a W-2 or W-9, but that's where I have to file the tax code with the value of the car and the value of the cash, which is $5,000. That's where I have to take everything to. So I still collect tax per state ordered. I think that's how it works. I don't know. I'd have to look at the
product sales.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. The sweepstakes. Yeah, it's different. Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
It's a very interesting business.
Learn something.
It's crazy. It's a lot, but
so don't get in the sweepstakes business. Is that
it's a lot to
well,
do
if
it.
you do, just be prepared.
Yeah.
That it's not just a set it up on a Shopify website and run
and give it away. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Because giveaways are illegal in Oklahoma. Yeah, there you go.
Huh.
Yeah, you can't just legally give things away. That's like our mini giveaway. I had to charge him so much to legally, still make a sale. I can't just give it to him, which he understood, but it was I think it was 3 cents. That's what he paid for. Because legally there had to be a sale attached to it. That way it's not a giveaway.
Every time I've had vehicles that I've done titles and stuff, and Every time I went to the DMV, you have to have a dollar amount in there.
Have to.
Can't
$1.
Can't be zero.
Yeah, right.
No,
dollar.
yeah,
Yeah.
Something.
You got the government wants their money, man.
Yeah.
You can't just give things away to people, not legally at least.
That's interesting.
It's a good thing I don't have anything to give away. So
Yeah, it'd be hard to give stuff away in our
Good.
business.
You give away a home one day to St.
Yeah,
Jude,
free-
along with the
free
2016 Audi
There you
that's
go.
souped up in $5,000 in cash. That would make some kids dream.
Now that would be
Yeah.
that would be interesting because what do they do every year? They give away a home.
The St. Jude Dream Home.
Is it okay? That's
Yeah.
what it is. The dream
Yeah.
home.
Yeah,
So
$500
I guess
a
if you
ticket.
were attached to that, that's a whole ordeal that we have
sure.
to go
Yeah,
through.
so to be legal with St. Jude as well, I had to go through them, get contact, get approved, set up a 501c3 with legal binding. That was another additional cost
Wow.
to do all that legally too. That was like $8,000.
wow. So you're technically a 501c3?
No, I have a 501c3 agreement with St.
Oh,
Jude. I don't
okay.
personally have a nonprofit.
No, Threaded
Not
is
yet.
for profit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
Well, I don't have anything else. I think we've discussed quite a bit today as in learning from the opportunities that we've had and overcoming failures and a lot of different things too. I've learned that you can't give away things for free here in the state of Oklahoma.
cannot.
So you can give me, I'll give you a penny.
I give you a high five.
Yeah, crisp high five.
Yeah,
right.
crisp one.
That cracked me up when I did that in your
Yeah.
order. I was like, I'm going to do something interesting. Abel, do you have anything?
Well, no. But on the topic of failure, I know these two from the conversation. Nathan, you started 8 companies, and you now have 3 successful companies. And successful, obviously, they all
Succeeding.
We're succeeding, right?
That's a good
They
one.
all have
They're
They're still
individual
alive. Put it
meanings
that way,
behind
right?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
all
yeah,
still
yeah.
here.
Right. Chance, I know for a fact you have like 2 or 3 that you've ran. Correct?
Yeah, this is number 3.
This is number 3. Braden, yourself?
I didn't actually mention this at all, but I've owned Deadbolt Anchor Company since I was 14.
Okay.
That's failed hard. Patent expired 20 years. Patents only last for a certain duration, right?
Right.
And when they're gone, they're gone.
Yes.
You can't renew them. There's no such thing. So you'd have to modify the product extensively for it to actually make a difference. And even then, you still have to file a new patent, and that's expensive. And is it worth it? Well, in my case, it was a no. So I've gotten to the point where I just sell out of products and might be working my way out of that. But so product marketing is a lot more difficult than a lot of other things. When you're outdoors, it's so easy because the product is tangible. It's there. It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's
Physical.
it's physical. Like, I don't know, like trying to sell certain products sometimes is a little bit more difficult than others or
Agreed.
services or whatever it is. But anyways, that's mine.
Okay. Well, I just bring that up because, again, on the failures aspect, I always tell people, that they ask about ARC, and I'm like, man, I personally have had 3 other businesses that all failed spectacularly. And they always ask, what do you mean spectacularly? It goes back to, as Nathan said at the beginning, I learned something from every single one. So it was
Right.
a spectacular failure. Without those, I'm not sure I would have succeeded in this one.
Sure.
So
Yep.
it's great to realize that, hey, even though we all have what we consider right now a succeeding business, or at least it's still doors open, we're still running.
Right.
We've all individually had our own failures in various other businesses, and that's a great. We talk about this all the time, Braden. you and I.
Perception.
Right, perception, and who you're around, and the what it takes to be a true business owner. And I think one of those is if you talk to the right business owners that we talk about, hey, you want to align yourself with and be around. Most of those businesses have multiple other businesses that don't exist anymore for whatever reason. And doesn't mean necessarily it was, forced to close down. It doesn't necessarily mean, sometimes it was an idea that you took off the ground and it just never actually worked. That's still a failure.